Hello, welcome back. I hope you had a chance to enjoy some lunch and to check out some of the vendors in the expo. I know I did. It was nice. And who stuck around for the demo jam? How fun was that? Congratulations, HireVue. Well, that was a great segue to the demo jam to kick off our afternoon sessions here at the breakout stage. We're going to be focusing on tools and technologies this afternoon. The really important part of your sales success, helping you choose the right ones. So we talked about my title being product marketing, but if you're here this morning, you know that I've spent over a decade in sales. And in the early days when I was a sales rep, my tools included Salesforce, email, and a phone. More specifically, that was Salesforce, Outlook, a landline, and a BlackBerry. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Anybody else run around with a BlackBerry? Well, things have really changed in 2016. There's now thousands of tools and technologies for you to choose from to drive productivity and to gain greater insights. The Salesforce App Exchange alone has over 2,800 applications. So I'm really proud to be introducing the CEO and founder of Sales Hacker. He's also the author of a playbook, Driving a High Velocity Sales Machine, Max Altschuler. Come on up, Max.
Come on, guys.
So Max is going to be leading a panel today. He's going to bring up some leaders here, and they're going to talk about the different tools and technologies that you can use to create your own sales machine and to make sure that you don't get left behind in 2016. We'll kick it off to you, Max. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Lynn. How's everybody doing? Thanks. Come on, guys. So we got a great panel for you today on sales ops from some sales ops leaders. Here we got Don Ottmos, VP of Sales Ops from DataHug, Tara Hallam, VP of Sales Ops from Flatiron Health, and John Costoros, CRO of Ringlead, Chief Revenue Officer of Ringlead. And we're talking about your tech stack. So all the tools that you can build on, if you have a CRM, you have LinkedIn, those are the things that most companies definitely have. You're using email, you're using phone, but what are you using to enhance your experience with that? What are you using to make that more efficient and more effective? And so we're talking a lot about the modern sales stack in 2016 and how different it is in today's day and age, especially with the evolution of sales in the past 2-3 years. There's a lot more technology and a way for you to get a real leg up and take advantage of that in your process. And if you're not taking advantage of that, your customers probably are, your competitors probably are. So I suggest you should. So we're going to kick it off. So just to get your take on it, John, we'll start with you and we'll go this way. What's your, when you first started selling, what did it look like, and really, what are the key things that changed, you think?
For me, I think, finding your ideal customer profile is always hard. Like, I would go to Yahoo Finance back years ago and just pick through the biggest companies out there and find their phone numbers or their address and, make a phone call, throw it in an Excel spreadsheet. Hopefully that Excel spreadsheet would make it to my CRM someday. Most often it didn't. And so for me, the biggest change has just been being able to communicate so much faster. Programs like the email clients out there that allow you to do cadences, help from marketing, getting inbound leads to drive into the sales department. Really those communication channels and the data side of it has improved. I mean, the first, I think, 3 chapters of your book are about how to build your list.
Yeah.
And that was always such a challenge before, and I think it's become a lot easier now with the technology.
Yeah. Tara?
Definitely. I agree with John. The point I would add is that the sheer volume of tools that are out there for us to use now, from the very early stage lead generation all the way through to a renewal of a sale, we can track and measure every element of that. So I'm able to put into our salespeople and our revenue leaders real-time data on how they're performing, where the gap is, and then I can tighten that immediately and drive that focus on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
That's so different from Excel spreadsheets that would be, day old, a week old, a month old.
Yeah.
So the real time, I think, is the big mover for all of us now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's funny, when I started in sales, I was at a meet at one point, and I said, yeah, when I was in sales, I used Telemagic. It was like crickets. Telemagic was like the Salesforce of like 20 years ago. Like everyone had Telemagic. And today there's just on top of Salesforce, there's so many different tools that you can use that you can just turn on immediately, have access to, allow your sales reps to like hit the ground running. that you really need to kind of watch where really invest time in understanding what you're going to bring to your team, and not bite off too much at once, and really understand what you're going to dive into.
All right, so let's talk about this stack. So it's been rapidly evolving over the past 2-3 years, and we're gonna dive into like 3 key areas, really at the top of the funnel here. We're gonna kick it off with lead generation and prospecting, and that really has to do a lot with what you said, John, the ICP and your data, what you're able to do with that these days. So what are you doing at Ringlead right now? And obviously your company plays in the space, so we won't get into the vendor specific stuff, but what are you guys doing right now at the top of the funnel in terms of the technology that you're using and how you're using it?
So I think the beginning of that question is that we have been around for a long time. So we have a lot of accounts that have either closed won or closed lost. And so we're able to analyze the key characteristics of those accounts, figuring out which types of customers are the best customers. And then, it's kind of a combination between marketing and sales to then go out and find those prospects. So we've got, our marketing team building lists. Our sales team that has technology to go out to LinkedIn and other places, company meet the team pages. After they're told, what that profile is, they're easily able to go out now and generate lists of high quality prospects across multiple accounts, but also multiple personas at those accounts. So, account-based marketing is huge now. Everybody's doing it. And I think that the ability for sales and marketing to both generate lists based on a profile in a quick time it's very helpful for us.
There you go. And so what are you doing around, like, you have something that enriches data, you have something that gets you net new data. What are some of the sources besides for Ringlead, obviously, that you guys have used?
We do. We use a lot of our own technology, but if we have to go out and find another vendor or something like that, I would say.
Well, you use Salesforce and LinkedIn, and then Ringlead.
Yeah.
And what areas of that stack does that capture for you? So, how are you going out and generating that ideal customer profile, getting those leads, and like what does that process look like?
Yeah, I think originally what we do is we analyze our accounts for which companies are buying the most, the biggest transactions, which ones renew the longest, which ones have the least amount of activities to create a closed won opportunity. And then we kind of layer that around, okay, what industry are they in? What employee size are they? What geography are they? And then you can kind of put these heat maps together that show you, okay, well, the tech industry in California is buying a lot of our SaaS software. So then, you go to the LinkedIns, you go to the outsourced resources overseas that can quickly build lists for you, and into your sales team, and you say, hey guys, go and look for these exact profiles. I don't really want you talking to anyone else, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. You want to focus all of your energy on going after and finding those ideal customer profile. And it does also, there's also another aspect of that at your current accounts, making sure you know where those contacts leave, when they leave, where they go to. Because, we found that when we reconnect, it's one of the top converting, initiatives that we've ever found. Just being able to find when your contacts at your customer accounts leave and where they go. They always want to have something to put into their new job, and so if they know your technology or your service well, and you can find them right when they switch to a new company, it's the best thing. They really want to show their value, and bringing along technologies is one of the things that they're good at.
Tara,
So at Flatiron, our mission is to organize the world's oncology data. And so we have a very defined audience with providers, physicians, academic environments, and life science companies. So we know our audience very well. but they're also very close-knit communities. And so to John's point, when people move or they have affiliations with each other, I need to know that. That's the fastest and most efficient way for us to move within those audience spaces. One thing I don't want to underestimate, though, here is the team that you have. So at Flatiron, we put a lot of focus and energy onto our sales ops team. I look for people who are naturally curious, people who cannot help but dive into those audience spaces and try and find those new hotbeds to follow. And ownership is critical here between marketing and sales ops. Nowadays, the tools overlap, so data.com, et cetera, they overlap seamlessly. But make sure that you're very clear on who owns the hygiene of your data at this stage. It's critical for us that we turn that data rapidly, it's absolutely accurate all the time, and that it can link in with AMA registries, et cetera, external data sources seamlessly.
Okay. What is in your stack for that I guess data enrichment, net new, that kind of stuff?
LinkedIn and data.com at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us at Data Hub, going back to John's point, what I've done is once you've identified what that ideal customer profile is having a way in Salesforce to score it, so that you know when you get a new lead, when you get a new contact, when you get a new account, you can rank for the team to know, like, hey, this is going to be a really good one for you to call, or it's you may not want to spend your time with this. And then it also enables the sales ops team to look at it and go, okay, where do our gaps exist? So it's like if you have a bunch of accounts but you don't have the necessary information to score that account, well, that's where you want to spend your time if you're going to be doing enrichment.
How do you set up that scoring? It's a custom field.
Yeah, it's formula fields, and Salesforce is the way we do it today. But there are companies that will do that for you as well. We built it ourselves just because I like being able to move the levers, and because I want to be able to refine it and be able to define what those attributes are for what we're going to score on. So it's a lot of formula fields based on title, based on very similar to John, size of the company, what industry they're in, what geography they're in, and being able to rank those so that when you have either a new lead come in or you have new names coming into the database, the SDR team immediately knows, hey, these are the ones I need to chase today.
Yeah. How do you keep that data clean and organized?
That's one of the challenges. You want to look at companies that have an ability to identify, is there duplicates in your system? Being able to go back and merge those. Typically, it's someone on sales ops. Usually someone who's entry level is going to be the one going in there, merging things, making sure that you don't have two people with the same name but different emails.
Yeah.
But they're both valid. How do you treat those? So defining how that works and having somebody on your team responsible to make sure, either on the marketing side or the sales side, that's getting done, so that you have data that's really clean. I think we talked about this before. Tara's team actually rewards her sales reps based on how well their data is clean.
I do a bi-weekly health card, and we try to have some fun in it. There's nothing like a bit of stack ranking to get your sales teams motivated.
Yeah.
But I reward excellence, sales excellence, because the compensation that I'll reward them with far outweighs the risk and the wasted time, the inaccurate information that flows down through finance and other teams.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the health card. I'm all about showing who's dirty versus who's clean, and then rewarding that turnaround.
That's awesome. Yeah. How big's your sales team?
So in Flatiron, we have two sides. We have our electronic health records side of our business, and that's 10 sales and 10 account executives. And then on our life science side of the business, we're looking at about 10 and 10 between principals and account managers.
Do you see that the health card ever scaling out?
Yes, I come from a public company. I was with IMS Health previously, and I launched the health card there, and we had over 140 reps.
And it worked.
And it absolutely works, especially when you stack rank and you reward and you highlight those who make the rest of our jobs that much easier. There's nothing, all of us know in this industry that discipline to your clients, to your dashboards, to your sales excellence objectives within Salesforce, that drives a certain sales discipline. And I have found in my experience that the most disciplined salespeople will manage their data and they'll manage their sales. So there's a correlation there.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on a little bit here to contacting, connecting. But once they have this data, they have their ICP. They're reaching out. Phone, email, social. How are you supporting them? What does that tech stack look like as far as the support goes?
Yeah, we've tried a lot of different technologies. It starts with the email client. So, any technology that allow you to put a cadence email together and mail merge it out to, many people at once. It's very helpful. Kind of take people out of that cadence if they unsubscribe or if they reply. It's a little overlap with marketing automation, but I feel like salespeople need to be enabled with an email client that'll allow them to put cadences through. I know there's other ones that'll allow you even to add call and social cadences into that process. We also have dialers for our team, so if they want to put a lead view or a report into a dialer, they can call hundreds of people in the time it would take them to make just a few. Automates their voicemails and things like that. It's the emails, it's the dialer, again, the scoring. So if you have some sort of system that'll do some predictive scoring on your leads after you've profiled them, it gives them additional information on that that score. It's nice to be able to prioritize. But again, if you're going to do a lot of automation on emails and phone calls and other channels, you want to make sure that in your data you have social profiles, you have good phone numbers, you have emails that have been validated so that you don't hit the spam traps and you don't get caught in spam emails. Like I check my spam filter all the time just because I know there's people I want to communicate that make it there, and I don't want my reps to be in that same position. So however much automation, again, it goes back to the data. Can you segment it into groups? Can you connect with it the right way? Is it going to be efficient rather than causing a bunch of inefficiencies? Because if the data is bad, it could be faster for them to manually do all the work because they'll have to go scrub it out anyway.
Yeah. What are you guys using, Tara?
So we are a Google venture house, obviously, and so it's important for us that Gmail, Gcalendar link with Salesforce, and that's been a little bit difficult. So we use Cirrus, to be honest, and it's been a great tool. We're able to track our events. We set a benchmark for each of our roles, and then we track our events against that. The other tools that I think you should consider looking at is a new one that's new in the world called Troops. So we're a Slack house as well. We love to communicate with each other, and between departments through Slack. And there's a new tool out called Troops, which will interact between Salesforce and Slack and give these dynamic messaging components out to our salespeople and our account executives. And so that's been a huge win for us.
Yeah.
So so the biggest thing for me, like once you have that, to segue from, once you have all that scoring, and an SDR understands, like, here are the next set of leads I need to call, it's really important to have that tool that they can then dump them into to create those cadences of, like, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it, I'm going to email it, I'm going to call, like over whatever time frame you're going to put them on. Having that tool is really key, because that's what really drives their activity. Having something that can integrate into Salesforce that they can live in, where they can just run all their emails, all their templates, all their phone calls for the day. That's being an SDR is typically an entry-level position. So, like, driving that activity is really, really important to make sure you're getting those qualified leads into the pipeline. And so having a tool that can do that, as seamlessly as possible and tie into Salesforce, that's and tools like that, they're like SalesLoft, Outreach, those types of tools are really what, helps drive that SDR day in and day out. That's going to be the tool that they live in to drive their activity.
What about tying in social? What are you using to tie in social? Are there any tools out there like Socito or even just Buffer for your reps?
I haven't used anything personally. We haven't really done too much on social selling, so I'll defer.
Either of you?
Yeah, every one of our reps has a LinkedIn premium subscription.
Yeah.
SalesLoft, a lot of our reps like to use SalesLoft because it does tie in the social part of the cadence. But if you have sales reps that don't have LinkedIn premium, get it for them now, because it's the best tool. For me, I'll go in and see that a deal is stagnant, or they can't get a hold of somebody at a company I really want them to close, and I look at their activity logs, and there's they'll make a call, and then the next day they'll make an email, and then I don't see any social logging sometimes, and so I tell them, I'm like, if I really want to get a hold of somebody, it's actually pretty easy. because all of their channels are going to their phone, I guarantee you. And if you call, email, and you LinkedIn message somebody, maybe even send them a connection request and an in-mail at the same time, they're either going to tell you to stop contacting them, or they're going to really respect that you know how to manage your communication. And so for us, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of tools out there other than SalesLoft that help, but I do know that LinkedIn Premium is something that every one of our sales reps uses, and it's mandatory when they come on that they understand how to build that into their daily communication flow.
Microsoft Premium?
Oh yeah.
It's not a sales conference if you don't make that joke this week. All right, cool. So we'll move on for the sake of time here into the deal cycle process. But all right, so you have your ICP, you know how to get your leads, clean your leads, you know how to reach out. Now that the deal cycle is kind of moving, what are you doing to keep your finger on the pulse for your reps? And you know, if you have 5 reps to 500 reps, obviously it gets harder as you go, and you need that technology there to kind of keep your guys honest. So, what are you looking at? Like, what are the key metrics that you're looking at? I mean, there's no silver bullet here. You talk to some companies and they count talk time. You talk to some companies and you're talking about connections.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your metrics, and what are you using to track that?
Yeah, we've used a couple of different technologies, funnel-wise, Insight Squared. They've all been very helpful for management to track activities, track, where a deal's at in the pipeline and whether it's at risk or not. I think some of the metrics that we track are call logs, talk time, number of emails that go out every day. If you give somebody a tool that can send out hundreds of emails at a time, they better send out at least 50 a day, right? Because it takes a few minutes if you provide them the data. And then, we're able to actually track, both in the lead and the account stage, how long it takes them to take them from stage to stage. And if you've mapped that out and you've put an SLA together that says it must go from here to here to here to here, and you must make this many activities and they must be these types of activities, and they don't hit that mark, those systems will trigger a response to a manager. Manager can reassign the lead. They can get somebody in there to help out with it. And it's actually one of the biggest necessities, I think, for anybody managing sales is to have a system in place or multiple systems that track activities and the different metrics that can help you to identify when a deal is at risk.
So similar to John, we're launching Insight Squared actually this month, and we're also looking at Aviso as well for the predictive element. But I'm still going back to the once a month, once a week cadence where I have one-to-ones with my sales team. I'm looking them in the eye. I'm asking them about the challenges that they have with an account. Again, remember, our spheres of audiences are quite wide at Flatiron. And so that cadence of a deep dive into your actual opportunities while looking at a tool such as Insight Squared, I still think you can no longer ignore that.
Yeah.
As strong as the technology is, it's that kind of putting the foot to the metal here.
What are you counting on when you look at a report from one of those products? What are you counting on?
For me, I'm looking at velocity. I'm looking how long a deal has sat in a certain stage.
Okay.
And again, we all know our salespeople well, so you understand that salesperson may have a slightly slower velocity, but he has a 100% close rate.
Yeah.
So it's knowing your salespeople, it's knowing their individual velocity, and then looking for those mishaps where you're seeing a gap there. You'll always see it before you're told about it. So it's trying to get in front of it with them, and then being a partner to them, saying, how can we solve this? I notice that there's a delay here.
Yeah.
I notice that outreach has slowed down. Your emails have rescinded to that client. How can we connect again? And then coming in as a partner to them to solve it.
So it allows you to see insights, and does it prescribe like an action to take?
It depends on the stage that you're in. So often, if it's a very early stage sale and we're not getting any response, the action is step away.
Okay.
Step away appropriately, revisit this in 6 to 12 months. The market that we're in from an electronic health record, when someone has signed that contract with a competitor, you've lost them for 3 to 5 years. So let's make sure that we're spending our time on the clients who can work with us.
Yeah, for us, on the SDR side, it's measuring. It's all based around activity. Our SDRs get comped on completed meetings.
Yeah.
So understanding how many people do they need to talk to before they get a meeting, how many dials they need before they talk to somebody, running all those ratios back to know how many calls they have to make a day, running all those as a dashboard in Salesforce, that's really important. And then on the AE side, it's very similar, just measuring how's the health of the deal as it's moving through the process. Of course, we use our own product for that, Data Hug. That way we can see, how well engaged a sales team is with the deal, and then have triggers to know, hey, if it's falling below a certain score, alert the manager, so that we can make sure that we jump in to understand why is it slipping and what things need to be need to happen in order to keep it going through the pipeline.
Okay. So you have these different pieces of technology. You have this stack. How are you keeping your reps honest? How are you enforcing this adoption of all these things from a sales ops perspective? Whose job is that? Is that your job? Is that the manager's job? And what does that look like?
I think it does follow sales operations.
Yeah.
Normally, as you get a larger team, you can actually dedicate someone to doing sales enablement, where that person does nothing but, make sure people are adopted, trained on product, on tools, understanding the process, helping define what that process is. That really falls under the sales enablement, which typically falls under sales operations.
Yeah.
I happen to have a smaller team now, but coming out of Yammer, coming out of App Annie, we had much larger teams where we had a sales enablement person that's what their entire job was. So
I agree with Don. I think it's on sales ops to own the script of the sale. But if you don't have engagement from your CEOs, your COO, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
So always ensure, if you are sitting there today as a CEO and a COO, drive that behavior. Stand behind your sales ops person. If it's not in Salesforce, this is an old comment, if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. So it's simple.
Yeah.
If it's not in Salesforce, I won't discuss the deal. I won't talk to you about resourcing. I won't send a demo member out. I won't send a sales engineer out, etc. And then that behavior, reward it. So it's back to the health card. I am happy to reward positive excellence in that discipline, rather than shining the light on those who are failing. I'd rather shine it on the top and have everyone reach for the stack.
Yes.
Yep.
This is their Q&A. You need to find this other law that you can't find it because it's on. So it's not making noise, but it's on. So you can't use it. You can't tell. You can use the law.
Like you said,
So you
if
have the other one. So we're stealing this one from.
mic check.
Hello.
We just need to find it.
Oh, there we go. So yeah, if sales ops sets up the system and the technologies work,
Okay, so we'll have one of our speakers.
Tech fail.
it'll work.
On a sales ops panel, on a technology panel. All right, well, we got 20 seconds left anyway. But basically, the last question is geared towards, you've got this tech stack, and if you're focused on the technology and adding the technology, which is all well and good, which is what we want you to do, but you're not empowering reps and forcing adoption, then you're hitting them with the efficiency part, but not the effectiveness part. And so make sure you invest in your sales stack, and now is the time to do it, because it's pretty incredible what's available for salespeople. But make sure you're training them right and pushing them to adopt the technology that you're putting into place, and the processes behind that and the message behind that. So thanks, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.